right, we are now streaming live on YouTube. Today is June 3rd, 2024. I'm Judge Kate Johnson. This is the preliminary hearing for Mr. Michael Edwards, charged in warrant number 2024 CW 70981, aggravated stalking. Representing the state is Attorney Menendez. Representing the state is Assistant District Attorney, Attorney Freeman, your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective Moore, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony about to provide in the matter of State of Georgia versus Michael Edwards to be the truth and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Thank you. Please tell us your name and how you're employed.
I'm Detective Tracy Moore. I'm employed with the Clayton County Police Department in the Criminal Investigation Division, Major Felony. I've been an officer with Clayton County for over 10 years, and I have been in CID for over 6 years now.
In your capacity with CID, have you been assigned the case involving Michael Edwards?
Initially, it was assigned to Detective Bryson. However, myself and other detectives and our supervisors were all assisting on this case. He has since left the department, so it was reassigned to me. Yes, ma'am.
As part of reviewing this case, Detective Bryson at the time took out a warrant on April 8th regarding aggravated stalking. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. And
if you could tell us what the basis of the aggravated stalking was.
There was a stay away order from Miss Brianna Winston for Michael Edwards from both her workplace and the residence that they shared at 1215 Gardenwoods Drive in College Park. That was signed by Judge Bridgewater of the Clayton County Magistrate Court on October 16th, 2023, and is still in effect.
After Judge Bridgewater signed that bond order on October 16th of 2023, were there instances where Mr. Edwards violated those conditions?
There were, but specifically on March 16th, the late evening hours and early morning hours of the 17th, Michael Edwards was at the apartment that they did share together. And that's the last time Brianna Winston was seen. He admitted to that in an interview. His current wife, that we did not know they were married at the time, Miss Brianna, there's another Brianna Phillips Edwards. She also admitted to that. The cell phone records place him there. We have video evidence placing him there as well, and flock cameras placing him there as well. So it's well documented that he was there. He admitted to being there. His current wife admitted to him being there. So we know that he was in violation of that order. We also, in his phone rip, there were pictures of her at her work where she worked in at a restaurant, like as if from outside, being taken from a car. So I don't think she knew that he was taking pictures of her work at that time. I don't have the date on that. However, I don't have the date that occurred, but I know it was within that time that he was driving some type of Uber or Lyft vehicle.
Do you know if those pictures were taken after the October 16th order?
Yes, I don't know, but I do not have the date of them. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When Mr. Edwards was at this apartment, just so we're clear, did he have permission to be there?
He met her there under he stated to obtain the Social Security number and something in order to do the taxes for their child. They have a shared child. We can't ask Brianna Winston if he was supposed to be there because
right,
she's deceased now.
Okay. Who all resided at that apartment, Detective?
Brianna Winston at one time, Michael Edwards did, and their daughter that they share together, juvenile.
Okay. Prior to the date when Mr. Edwards was seen at the apartment, but after the order was done, did Miss Brianna, did she indicate that Mr. Edwards had any other contact with her?
They did pretty regularly text each other. So they were in contact by at least via text.
Those text messages that Mr. Edwards would have done with Miss Brianna, were those also in violation of the order?
They are. And I will say that I know that they did text about, there was some kind of argument on the text about him riding her around in a vehicle. So I know they did have, I know they were together at some point because there was an argument about him riding around in a vehicle, and she had found out that it's another female's vehicle, which turned out to be his current wife, who they secretly got married in January, Brianna Phillips Edwards.
The photographs that you located that were of Miss Brianna at her workplace, were you able to determine, I guess, what was Miss Brianna doing in those photos? Was she just at her, just at her
Just a way,
job
she's a
working?
waitress. Yeah, she was just
Okay.
doing her duties.
Okay. Have you had occasion to ask Mr. Edwards about the photos?
I have not. I did not interview him. I know several other detectives and supervisors did interview him. But he just, I believe, well, he definitely stated that he was there that evening. That was the last time she was seen alive. So, yeah, so he
Okay.
admitted to the violation right there.
Okay.
But I don't know that I don't think, no, because I know they did not, because they interviewed him, and upon his arrest, 2 cell phones were confiscated from him, taken as evidence, and then they were ripped. So I know that we would not have known those pictures existed prior to those phone rips.
Okay. Did this take place in Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am, it did.
As part of the investigation regarding aggravated stalking, were you able to determine whether or not Mr. Edwards tried to contact Miss Brianna via social media?
I believe they did on social media. I know they did on the phone, through text. And I
Okay.
know that they did see each other sometimes in person as well.
Regarding the aggravated stalking, were there any witnesses that you were able to speak to confirm that Mr. Edwards would communicate with Miss Brianna?
So the person who reported Brianna missing initially was Jasmine Walker, her cousin. She stated that she had conversations with Mr. Edwards, and he said they were in communications. And we know that his wife, Brianna Phillips Edwards, stated they were in communications. And also his mother, Mr. Edwards' mother, also stated that they were in communications.
Thank you. I have no further questions at this time.
Yes, ma'am.
Menendez? Cross?
Yes, thank you, Judge. Why did Bryson leave the department?
You would have to ask him, sir. I know he moved, so I don't know. I'm assuming because he moved away.
Oh, okay. So you don't have personal knowledge of that.
I don't.
How was this allegation of aggravated stalking first brought to the attention of law enforcement?
Initially, Miss Winston was reported missing by her family. It was very strange circumstances, very suspicious circumstances of her missing. While conducting the investigation, we learned that there was a stay away order from a previous domestic violence incident. So that's how it was. The law enforcement learned of the stay away order and knew that he was in violation of it. And he admitted to being in violation of it.
Okay, so she's already reported missing, and then that's when, because he's being investigated for her being missing, is when it comes to law enforcement's attention that there's a temporary protective order.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. As well as a stay away order for an open misdemeanor case.
It's criminal damage, so that'd be a felony, sir.
Right, and the open cases for the mutual, or not mutual, but there was a damage to her phone and damage to his phone, and she was also charged.
I'm going to object. That's not relevant.
All right, I'll rephrase the question. The misdemeanor we're talking about is when you say domestic violence, it wasn't violence to a body, it was violence towards a piece of property, correct? A cell phone.
There were, from my understanding, they were arguing and he broke her phone. I believe she did break his phone as well. And his mother was very concerned, and she's the one that actually called the police to respond to, because it was a volatile situation, I guess.
Okay, understood. So it wasn't Miss Winston that called the police.
It was Mikhail's mother.
Okay. And there's also a TPO out against her.
I'm not aware of that, sir.
Okay. And what I mean is a TPO of her not being able to have contact with him.
Right. I'm not aware, but it would not surprise me, but I'm not aware of that, sir, so I can't testify to that.
And then when you said that she had been contacting him, what did you mean by that?
So they had been in contact both ways. They were they texted each other. They still I know that I know that he saw his child sometimes. I know his mother regularly kept the child, so she was in contact with his family. We know that for sure on March 16th or late hours or early morning hours of 17th, he admitted to going to her apartment to get Social Security card and something to do the taxes to claim the child. So he stated he was there himself. His wife, Brianna Phillips Edwards, stated that he was there as well. And his mother said that she had said that they had been in communication and that they had seen each other. So we've got multiple people, as well as her cousin, Jasmine Walker, knew at least that they were texting.
Okay. And then as an investigator, it's basically your conclusion that he was there to address some kind of need of the child. Is there any reason that you believe he might have been there besides that?
Well, I don't think that that's relevant to this case. I think it's relative since we're doing the other charges on Wednesday. I think it's more relevant to that. So I don't really know that that's something I should answer.
Well, my question is
hold on, excuse me. So Detective Moore, if there is a question that is improperly posed, Attorney Freeman would object to it. So you can't necessarily pose an objection.
And Judge, I think, and so with trying to keep the charges separate, I think the question that Attorney Menendez poses, it is going to require Detective Moore to get into the other charge. And so, you know,
Right,
if
but
Attorney
is the
Menendez
title
wants,
relevant for both charges in both charges?
it would be. And so I would say Detective Moore, and that's why I didn't object. Attorney Menendez asked the question. So Detective, I would say certainly proceed to answer.
Okay, can you re-ask the question, sir?
Yeah, it was just a follow-up on the previous answer. So when he testified that he was there to get the social security card, is there any opinion that you have about him being there for any other purpose, or was it just to address the need of the child?
Okay, so I don't like to give opinions, but however, yes, I do believe there was another reason that he was there. She and he had gotten to a fight about another female, which I don't think she knew that they were married. I believe he went there to not for the reasons he stated to get the social security card. I believe he went there to confront her. He was still clearly trying to see her. I think he had some type of infatuation with her still. I don't think he was ready to let the relationship go. And we know that that's the last time that Miss Winston was seen alive was that time of the morning. So that's where we're getting into a whole nother case.
Right, and I understand. Yeah, I just wanted to clear that up. So it's he told you that he was there to get the social security card, but you don't necessarily find that credible.
Well, I mean, it could be true. I don't know, but I do believe that's not the only reason. I think he would have found I think he would have found a reason to go there if he had a valid reason, possibly to get that social security card. But I think he would have found any reason to go there.
Right, I understand. And when you said that they had been in contact, is it fair to say there were some times where she initiated the contact and other times where he initiated the contact?
I didn't review the phone rips myself, so I don't know who initiated, but I would assume that yes, because I know that his mother, did keep their child quite a bit, so she would have certainly been in contact with. I don't know if she went through him to get the child care or directly to the mom. I don't know.
Okay. And did anyone within law enforcement review any transcripts related to the TPO here?
The transcript, no, I have the copy of the order. I could give
Okay.
you the case number or whatever off of it.
Understood, but no one looked into what was actually said or what's on the record during the hearing.
I did not, but I would assume someone else did, but I can't testify for them.
Okay. And it's true that Mr. Edwards was not represented by an attorney at the TPO hearing. He was representing himself.
I have no knowledge of that, sir.
Okay. And so we also don't have any knowledge about whether or not he knew about this order or what the conditions were apart from the order existing.
I know the order was made on the 16th and it was filed with the court on the 17th. So typically, and I didn't watch the hearing, but judges, when they have those kind of prelims or whatever, I've seen it many times that they tell them that they have to stay away. They tell them what the conditions are right up front, and they give a long list of directions at the beginning before I mean, not the first appearance. I'm sorry, not the prelim. When they have first appearances, I know they give a big long list of what can happen and what needs to happen, and they talk about stay away orders and say that they can't have contact physically, direct contact, indirect contact through other family members. So I know that's typical with the Clayton County Court. I think there's a actual probably like a thing that they read every time.
Right. And that aside, although it's typical, there's no investigation into whether or not he's present at that hearing.
I think you have to be present at your first appearance hearing, but I didn't watch it, no. So I can't answer that, sir.
Right. No, I'm not asking about the misdemeanor or the whatever it is, the open other criminal case stay away order. I'm talking about the TPO hearing. There's no investigation into whether he's present at that TPO hearing.
Oh, I'm not
Judge,
aware,
I'm going
sir.
to object. I don't even
Yeah,
know.
that's outside the scope. Move on,
Okay.
Counsel.
And well, Your Honor, just for the record, it's within the scope because the aggravated stalking is being alleged for a violation of this TPO. And so I'm just asking whether or not we looked into him being present at that TPO hearing or not.
Okay, was it a TPO hearing or was it?
And that's what I was going to say, Judge. There has not been any testimony that there was a temporary protective order hearing. The testimony was that there was an order signed by Judge Bridgewater, and one of the conditions was that that Mr. Edwards had to stay away. But there's been no testimony that there was an actual temporary protective hearing. I don't know if there was a hearing. And
this case is just simply based upon the violation of a bond order. Has nothing to do with a TPO.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was trying to clear up. I thought that I must have just misunderstood one of the answers. I thought that there was also a alleged violation of a TPO.
I don't know anything about that.
Right. And
Okay.
so, Detective Moore, that's what the way the court just characterized it. That's accurate. This charge that brings us here today is for violating a bond order, not a TPO order.
Correct. I can give you the number, the court number. I can tell you it was signed by Judge Bridgewater. I could give you the dates and everything because I have a copy of the order before me.
Okay. Now, I want to move on to the pictures that you said were taken at work. Did anybody look in the phone analysis to see whether those pictures were taken by that phone or possibly sent to the phone?
The pictures were in the phone. I didn't go through the phone myself, but I'm aware of the pictures and I saw the pictures. I don't know the date that they were taken, and I'm sure that someone could do that, but the
Right,
pictures
so that's
were in
my
his
question.
phone. The pictures were in his phone. That's how I'll answer.
Right. So within your personal knowledge, you know that the pictures are in the phone, but you don't know whether or not those pictures might have been texted to that phone instead of taken by the phone itself.
I will say if they were downloaded to the phone, but they were within the pictures. Like if you take pictures in your phone and you've got a whole bunch of pictures in your phone, they were within those pictures in the phone.
Right, I understand. I'm just asking if anybody that you're aware of looked at the phone download to see whether or not it was taken by the phone as opposed to sent to the phone and downloaded.
I'm not aware, sir.
Now, is it true that essentially this aggravated stalking case was taken out because Mr. Edwards was being investigated for murder and law enforcement wanted to kind of have him locked up?
I think that's true. What is true is that he was in violation of a order to stay away, and we learned that he did not stay away and obtain warrants for his arrest. Now, he had warrants out of another jurisdiction, and he was taken to custody for those charges after his interview, but that had nothing to do with us or nothing to do with this case.
Okay. And during that interview, he never admitted to knowingly violating the bond order. Like he didn't admit that he knew he wasn't supposed to have contact.
I would have to, it's about 100 and something pages of interview, sir. I'd have to go back through it, but I know that was brought up. And I don't believe I read anything about him denying any knowledge of it.
Okay. And when you say brought up, was that brought up by him or brought up by someone within the police?
I believe the detective Bryson brought it up.
Okay. And I guess what I'm asking is you don't remember whether or not he ever says that I knew I wasn't supposed to have contact with her.
If you would like to wait, I could read back through all of the interview and see if I could find your answer. But I mean, again, it's 100 and something page interview.
Okay. And then I guess back to my other question. So what was that at all part of the law enforcement strategy to take out the aggravated stalking, so hold him while you investigate this missing person?
Judge, I'm going to object. Detective Moore has already answered the question. The warrant was taken out because they believe that he had committed the offense of aggravated stalking. She's already answered the question.
Well, I guess I didn't know if there might be multiple purposes. So that's a no. That was not a law enforcement strategy to hold him while you investigate the missing person.
Again, I'm going to object. Detective Moore has already answered the question.
Move on.
Okay, and then just for the record, I don't believe she answered it, but I'll move on. You mentioned her being deceased. What is the proof of her being deceased?
And Judge, okay, the proof of her being deceased, I think we're getting into the murder case. I don't think the proof of her being deceased is relevant for the aggravated stalking.
I concur.
Okay.
Objection.
And Your Honor, it was commented on by the witness on direct, so I just wanted to have a brief cross about it.
Any other questions, counsel?
Oh, yes. And so when you mentioned cell phone location, is that location data from the cell phone download or location data from a cell phone provider?
A provider, sir.
Okay. And so by location, you mean cell phone towers?
It depends on when you're talking about, but yes, for the when he was at her apartment, we know that he was there through cell phone evidence as well.
Okay. And I guess what I mean, I'm just trying to clarify, when you say cell phone location, you're talking about cell phone tower data from the cell phone provider.
I don't know which part of the case you're asking about, sir. You would have to be more specific.
Yeah, the parts that deal with the aggravated stalking probable cause.
So for the we know the cell phone device and we know the vehicle was there. If we're talking about when he actually went to her apartment or their shared apartment, we know that he admitted to being there. We know his wife admitted to them being there. We know his mother said they were in contact. So we have multiple, and we know her cousin, Jasmine Walker, also said that they had contact. So we know that he was in violation of that order.
No, I understand. My question though was when you referred to cell phone location data, was it some of it cell phone tower from the company? Was some of it
It would
from?
be, yeah, the phone records that we order from the company or
Okay.
under a search warrant.
Okay, so not the cell phone download.
It may be as well. I'm not familiar, but I know that the phone, we do have phone data showing that location.
I understand. And then did you try to corroborate that cell phone location data with the witnesses that you said that he was there? Like look at the times and see if the times coincide or not.
I did not, no, sir.
And are you aware of anyone else within law enforcement doing that?
I would think that Detective Bryson did, but we know from his testimony, from his wife's testimony, and from cell phone data that shows to be in the area of the apartment they shared.
Okay. Your Honor, those aren't my questions.
All righty, any redirect?
No, Your Honor, the state rest.
Mhm. All right, for closing arguments, Attorney Freeman,
The state waives opening.
Attorney Menendez.
All right, thank you, Judge. I would argue that although it's low standard, there isn't probable cause in this case because probable cause needs to be established for each element. There's been testimony about the existence of an order, but no testimony about Mr. Edwards's knowledge of what that order commanded. They talked about him giving an interview. We don't have information about whether he admitted to knowing he wasn't supposed to have contact with her. And, it's circumstantial at best, but there's also circumstantial evidence the other way that, they're regularly texting each other. She's sometimes initiating contact. There's contact between family and friends. This is all going on for an extended period of time without anyone reporting it to the police. And it's actually not even Miss Winston herself that ever reports it. This is part of a other investigation. And so, Your Honor, when there's no investigation into his knowledge, we can't say there's even a minutia of evidence that he did know. And we didn't look at the transcript of the hearing. We don't know if he was even present during that. We're just relying on, customs and what's typical. But I don't think just what's typical is probable cause. I mean, they could have talked to his attorney or the public defender's office or looked at the transcript, and it's a pretty serious allegation, Judge. So I don't think there's been any testimony about his knowledge that would rise to the level of probable cause. So I just ask this court to dismiss the aggravated stalking.
All right, Attorney Freeman.
Thank you, Judge. We're asking that the aggravated stalking is bound over to Superior Court. We heard a testimony from Detective Moore. Defendant Edwards admitted to being at the location. Cell phone puts him there. He gave, a reason for being there to get a Social Security card. When Attorney Menendez asked Detective Moore about her opinion regarding that explanation, she went into that she believed that there was another reason why he was there. That was the last time the victim was seen alive. And so the belief is that he was there for some other reason. And she since was deceased. And Judge, and I believe Detective Moore stated that she could not say definitively whether or not there was contact initiated. She said it probably was, but we don't know that for sure. But that's not concerned here. We know that he was at the apartment, and we know that was the last time our victim was alive. And so we are asking that this charge of aggravated stalking is bound over to Superior Court.
All right, thank you for the evidence presented. I do find that there is sufficient probable cause to bind this case over to the Superior Court of Clayton County. That's the order of the courts.
Thank you, Judge. And may Detective Moore be excused?
Yes.
Thank you,
Okay,
ma'am.
Thank you, Detective.
Thank you, ma'am.
And Judge, and before we